first speaker is Robertson, and he's going to be speaking on government spending. Help me welcome Will.
Abraham Lincoln once asked a witness, if this horse's tail was a leg, how many legs would this horse have? And the witness said, well, I guess he'd have 5 legs. And Abraham Lincoln said, no, the horse would have 4 legs. Just saying that a tail is a leg doesn't make it so. The U.S. government says that they have a plan to reduce debt and balance the budget. But just saying it doesn't make it so. The truth is that the national debt is over $14 trillion, as Roger's already mentioned. That's a staggering figure. I can't imagine why we've already let it go up so high. Our current path of overspending will weaken our economy and reduce the personal liberties that Americans now enjoy. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, I would like to share with you the Heritage Foundation's plan to reduce the national debt and balance the budget. I believe it contains a lot of good ideas, but I'm going to leave it to you to judge its merit. The problem, as the Heritage Plans describes it, is that our nation is in a financial crisis. It says that we are carrying a crippling debt and spending more than we make. Specifically, our government has made promises to Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid payments that we no longer have money to pay for. When I think about the debt, and when I first read the Heritage Plan, I realized that there was a lot more information than I could first grasp. Even some of the most simplest terms to them were difficult for me. I wanted to find some of those terms for you tonight that may help you in thinking about the plan. The first one is just debt. What are we talking about when we say that the nation has a debt? As Roger mentioned, this is defined in terms of gross national product. So if you were a business, this means everything you sell in a year. So all the companies, all the people in the U.S., everything we sell, that's goods and services, is our gross domestic product. The U.S. currently owes 70% of that gross domestic product. So when we're talking, which is the $14 trillion number that we've already given you. Our deficit, and that's the number that we spend as a budget, a yearly number, the amount that we owe over what we spend in a year is 40%. So that means that the U.S. government is spending borrowing 40 cents of every dollar that they pay out. Entitlements. This is a term that you may have heard floating around. In regard to the Heritage Plan, what they're speaking of is, when they say entitlements, is Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. I'd like to define for those for you just briefly. Social Security is retirement income. It's for people, when they retire, to have an income to live on the rest of their lives. Medicare is health insurance for people over 65 and people who are disabled. Medicaid is health insurance for the poor. Now, the Heritage Plan offers a very in-depth solution, but if you boil it down, it's got 3 major points: lower taxes, limit government, and reduce spending. They propose to lower taxes on both individuals and businesses. And their plan also says that they will reduce the size of the government in a period of 10 years by 50%. That's a huge cut to our government. I think it's quite radical. They also will reduce spending primarily to entitlements, that's Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. But they want to make smarter payouts. For example, they'll pay a flat rate to people who have retired for the Social Security payment. And people who don't need it based on their income, in other words, people who make too much money, they won't pay that at all, which is kind of a scary idea for some. As you can see, the Heritage Plan is quite simple. less money. But I think that's something we've known for many years. So why aren't we doing this? Well, first, I believe it's because what we're talking about is a radical plan. And when I say radical, what I mean is it's not what we've been doing for many decades. But it does make sense. When we talk about reducing spending, I have to bring that down to my own personal level. So I wanted to share with you just a brief story about something that my family is going through right now. We currently live in a home that we can afford. And what we've noticed just recently, my wife and I, is that we've accumulated just a bunch of stuff. And we began talking about that. I mean, we have almost 1,000 square foot garage. And it's full. I mean, this is a decade, 17 years we've been married. And that stuff is just piling up. And this is similar to what we're all going through, I think, because we live in this society. But we decided, you know what, it's going to hurt to do. There's a lot of useful stuff down there. I know we would probably use all the items in there at some point. But we decided to get rid of that stuff. And last weekend, we sent 4 truckloads of stuff out of our garage to a local church, just gave it away. And I know that there's a price tag involved with that, but I got to tell you, it feels really, really good. So was it radical? Yes, it was radical. Is everybody going this way? No, they're not. But it was cool, I got to tell you, and it felt really good. Thank you, Dave. Dave's cheered me on back there. Now, the reason we did that is because we are going to move into a smaller home, which is also sort of a radical thing. In fact, when I went to my mortgage banker and said, hey, I want to move into a smaller home, he's like, well, I don't know if we're going to be able to give you a loan on that. That's not the American way. That's unusual. And so, you know, we're going to have to explain to the underwriter. Well, I did that. And it turns out, you know, you can work your way through it, but it's not usual. People don't understand this. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, just saying it doesn't make it so. As a nation, we have to make a radical change in our spending. We have to rethink the way we're budgeting and plan to make serious changes in the future. Or else, as Roger already highlighted, we're headed for some really dire times, like countries are already experiencing. I hope that you will take some of the ideas from the Heritage Plan that you're hearing here tonight and take it with you to the poll and support politicians who are in favor of reduced government spending.